thank you for joining us, and thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. And tell me about your World War II career.
Well, the war started, December 7th, got the bombing, and everybody heard about it. And I was working at a grocery store, stocking and something, but after school.
This is in Texas?
Yes.
Okay.
Fort Worth, Texas. When I heard about it, everybody was so patriotic then. And we all rushed to the recruiting office in Vietnam and Korea. They all rushed to England or Canada. But in World War II, everybody was wanting to join the service. It's a very patriotic time. It was 4 months after the war started. It was April 1942. I decided I wanted to join the Navy. I've always liked the water. And there was a lot of gang activity on the streets at that time in Fort Worth and Dallas. And a lot of the kids my age were getting sent to reformatory. And for the mother and dad, the way I remember it is that they thought if I could get in the Navy, it'd take me out of that environment. And so they were against me trying to get in if I could get in. But I couldn't use my birth certificate. You had some way of proving my age. So I went to the school administration building and got a document from them that stated in there when I started school. And I took it to the secretary where my daughter worked, and she changed the date from 1926 to 1924 on that document. And I took it down and presented it to the recruiting office, and they accepted it. And I went through the physical and everything, and I remember he said that if there's any more like you at home, send them up here. But I think they would have took anybody that could walk, because the war had just been going on for 4 months. I had just started, and I was in the 9th grade. Back then they had high 9th and low 9th, and I was in the low 9th, so I was just barely in the 9th grade.
Did that make you probably one of the youngest?
I'm not, no. The youngest that I know of was 12. They made a picture movie of him. Okay. And he got wounded, and when the Navy got in touch with his mother about him being wounded, she said, well, he's only 12 years old. And that's how they found out how old he was. And myself, I've never thought anything about it. I never told a soul the 4 years I was in how old I was. But when I look back at it now, I look at boot camp, and I went to San Diego, California in boot camp. And in boot camp, I think the main thing they teach you to obey. You obey without any hesitation. They say do it, and you do it. And there's a lot of rules that they set up to where they can punish you and sometimes the whole unit will get punished for what one person does. And you got to carry the same load and do the same obstacle courses that those men do. You get 15, you've got to do everything they do. And I wasn't big either. I was 5'9", weighed 139. I wasn't a big 15-year-old. So how you get through boot camp is really, really hard. I made it through boot camp. But one of the first things they do when you get in boot camp is they take you to the auditorium, they give you a battery of tests, all kinds of tests. And part of the test is on the Morse code. And they had about 100 letters that you had to match up with the Morse code. And I was able to match about 80% of it. So I'm sure when they looked at that, they said I'm like a good radioman. So they sent me to radio school in Los Angeles. But that was a big mistake, because I thought I didn't join the Navy to go to radio school. I joined the Navy to fight the Japs. But I went to radio school, but I didn't have enough education at the low 9th to be a radioman. The ones that were educated enough, that code in your ears comes over the key into your ears and goes right to your fingers. You had to learn how to type. But they could, if you was educated enough, they could start the word, a couple of letters, they'd know what the word was. But me, they'd have to spell out the whole word. So I didn't want to be there. So I washed out, I'll call it that, I washed out. And I wasn't the only one, there's some others. So they sent us to a naval prison in San Pedro, California. And we weren't prisoners, but they was using it for a holding facility. They got a group of men together to make up a unit. And they eventually did, and the unit was called Acorn Red 4. It was a PBY seaplane base unit. And then we went to Oakland, California as a unit. In Oakland, on one time I had a Liberty, and I'd been going with a girl in Los Angeles. And I just left and went to Oakland. So I had a weekend pass, and I went back to LA to see the girl. And I heard her girlfriend was out with 2 more sailors. So I didn't, but I was drinking then, but I don't know, I think I hadn't made 16 yet. I was still 15 probably. And, but I was drinking then. And I never did, I was going to be a fighter when I joined it. I was going to be a boxer. And I wouldn't drink or smoke or nothing. But on a train from San Pedro to Oakland, I was introduced to beer. Once I got on it, I was on it. But so I had a bottle with me, and I was there waiting for them to come home. And sure enough, they come in with two sailors. They said, "Y'all go on, and we'll get rid of him." So they left. In my mind, I said, "Them 2 boys are going to be waiting for me when I get downstairs."
Okay.
But I'm 15 years old from Texas. So I go downstairs, and there they was, sitting there on the sidewalk, just waiting for me. And this don't get pretty, but they started over there towards me, and I had that bottle. I hit it up against the side of that building. I said, "First one you get close to us is going to get this bottle right in your face." So these 2 girls come running down, going like that. And I said, "Y'all just better let me walk away." So they did. They changed their mind about beating me up. So they walked away, but I decided not to go back because I had the weekend pass, but I decided I'd stay a little while. So they had a USO. And I spent the nights in the USO, but the MP or SPs in the Navy, SPs, they'd come by checking dog tags, looking for AWLs, AOLs. We'd see them coming in, we'd get on the floor and crawl over into the bathroom and go in and get in a stall and shut the door and climb up on the seat. Or if they looked under there, couldn't see any feet. So I got by with that.
You had a very interesting young life.
Yeah, it got worse.
Tell me about when you actually went to...
Well, I'm getting to that.
Sorry about that, sir.
The ship was about to sail, and if you miss a ship, that's pretty serious.
Oh, yeah.
So I went back and turned myself in, and I had to go to captain's mess. They gave me, I thought it was 5 days, because solitary confinement, bread and water. You got 3 slices of bread and a glass of water for each meal. But every 3rd meal, you got a full meal. But I've read I sent and got my records, and they said it was 3 days. The solitary confinement cells were on a catwalk. There's 4 foot wide, 8 foot deep, 8 foot, nothing in there, no windows, nothing. At night, they brought you a little mat to lay on. And they'd put you down to a bullpen, and they'd put you in there, and they'd give you the 3 slices of bread and a glass of water. But then the ship sailed, but we went to Port Hueneme and took commando training. There they teach you how to hurt somebody. So we went through that, and the ship left at Port Hueneme. That's where we sailed out of, the convoy.
Okay.
The ship was a Liberty ship called Island Mail, troop ship. Worst duty in the Navy. 2 meals a day, saltwater showers, 2 canteens full of water a day, overcrowded, and it was real bad duty.
How long did you do that?
It was about a month on that ship.
Okay.
Since we were going to be a landing unit with the PBYs, we had to take what they call marsh planking, which they form an iron mat to lay on the sand to roll the planes out of the ocean when it has to be worked on. That ship was fully loaded with it, and they couldn't keep up with the convoy, so it slowed us down a whole lot. But we poured into New Hebrides Islands to take on water. The only place that we got Liberty. But I had an accident on the ship that a cable come across, didn't almost cut my leg off, but it almost broke my leg. I couldn't walk. And so I couldn't go on Liberty because I couldn't walk. And that was the only place we had Liberty. After that, we sailed out of there and pulled in a place called Espiritu Santos. And we took on water there. And some places, on those harbors, they have a submarine net that they let down. And when the ships can come in, if they will let them, they won't always let them because they're afraid the submarines will come in with them. So sometimes they wouldn't let us in. And so we left out of there and we hit the equator. In the Navy, there's two groups. There's pollywogs and shellbacks. If you've been in the Navy 30 years, if you hadn't crossed the equator, you're a pollywog, low form of marine life. So when you hit the equator, the shellbacks are preparing for it. They got one before is about 3 foot long, and they're carving handles in them, and you know what those things are for. So when you get to the equator, the shellbacks take over the ship, over the officers and everything. They made one officer put his uniform on backwards and gave him 2 Coke bottles taped together, and he had 2 shellbacks with him going around and doing submarine lookout, that officer was. And when we get to the equator, that was in January 1943. We started on off with a bowl of cold beans, and the shellbacks overeating ham and eggs. And you get a subpoena. Everybody, all us pollywogs gets a subpoena if they're charged with something. And they set up a throne room on the top deck. A boatswain's seat over the side, they bring up a grizzly-looking guy, that's King Neptune, and he goes to his throne. How in depth do you want me to get with this?
I want to talk to you about your when you went to the Solomon Islands.
Well, I'm getting there.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll speed it on up.
And Halavo Base.
We didn't know where we were going, but we found out, a rumor got it going, that we're going to Guadalcanal. That area where Guadalcanal is called Iron Bottom Sounds. It's about 20 miles or 30 wide or long. And you got Guadalcanal on one end over here across a big island. You come over here and you got Tulagi right there on the right, and then you got Halavo Bay, called Florida Islands, but it's called Halavo Bay. And then you got Purvis Bay, which is a deep bay over here. That whole area there is called Iron Bottom Sounds because they sunk so many ships and shot so many planes down, they nicknamed it Iron Bottom.
Wow.
And I wasn't in on the invasion of Guadalcanal, but I was on Guadalcanal. But our base was on Florida Islands over there at Halavo Bay.
So that's where you witnessed the PT boat?
The PT boats was about 4 miles from me at Tulagi. That's where President Kennedy was, the commander of a PT boat. And they used to come running out there, had to go right by us, but they roared when they come out there going on their runs.
Did you ever meet President Kennedy?
No.
Probably a big base, huh?
No. We have the bombers from Japan would fly over, and one of them was Washington Machine Charlotte. And he was educated in UCLA, there in California. He went back to Japan and became a bomber pilot. And he'd get on a radio frequency with our radio, and he'd talk to them about California. Then he'd say, "Look out, boys, here they come." And he'd let his load go. We got a lot of bombing raids where they wouldn't hit us because Tulagi and Henderson Field on Guadalcanal was their targets. Sometimes they had to fly over, so we'd have to go in a condition red, like Fasti Foxo. And then there was 2 kinds of bombs that dropped. One of them didn't make a sound. They just dropped. But the others whistled. And the ones that whistled were the bad ones because you'd be in a bunker, but that sound, you couldn't get away from that sound. That sound is all around you. You couldn't get away from it. And that one night then they hit our ammunition dump. And when they burnt for 3 days. It killed, I don't know how many men it killed, broke one guy's leg off. And 2 gunners mates that bunked there in the ammunition dump. It burnt them real bad. I mean, they didn't die, but I'm sure they wished they'd have died. 2 years later, they're still in the hospital. But it didn't affect me because I was on the other end of the island. So much of that stuff in the war is luck, just plain luck.
So you're lucky you survived, right?
Yeah, if I'd have been pretty close to that ammunition, I'd probably been dead. I'd probably been dead.
How young are you, sir?
I'll be 99 next month.
Okay.
So usually when I go to the World War II group, I'm the young one.
Okay.
And I've been to France 4 times with World War II, the only ones that go World War II veterans, and I'm always the young one. We had one lady that was 102 this last time while we were over there. So they're all 100 or better. I'm so fortunate. I've still got a mind, and I can still get up and walk. I live by myself. I mow my yard. I take care of my medication, take care of my bills. I'm just so fortunate.
You are a credit to our country.
Yeah, I'm so fortunate.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
I have one question.
Sure.
Jack, Can you tell Jim, 80 years later, you're sitting here at Pearl Harbor where the attack happened and changed your life dramatically. What does it mean to you to be here to celebrate 80 years of peace?
When I look back at that time and see how it is today, it's really heartbreaking to see how it is today. Back then, everybody was so patriotic, you know, this wonderful country, and now it looks like everybody's trying to destroy the country. I'm glad I've got those other memories, and we still got some good people today.
What advice would you give to the younger generations to make sure we're continuing to go in a good direction and preserve what you fought for?
If they could find Christ as their Savior early, that'd be wonderful. Because I think that's going to help them, the only chance they got. And get their education. I believe in education. I had none. But my children, I had a boy that he's had 3 companies. In his last company, he had offices in 7 or 8 states. He's a municipal negotiator over the whole United States. A girl went back to college when she's 40 and got her teaching degree. I had another son that was, and I lost him, but he got his degree in accounting. And my other daughter, she went to college a couple of years, but she got a job with Geico Insurance Company and became an insurance underwriter. So my 4 kids, of course, they had to work. I roofed for about 50 years, and they decided they didn't want to work that hard. So all my kids got to get a good education, and you won't be sorry. I've spent half my time now being sorry for what I did. Can't do nothing about it. You can't do nothing about the past. No use worrying about the past because you can't do nothing about it.
Do you think the education system is doing a good enough job teaching about the World War II?
No, I don't. No. When I mention stuff to the young kids now, they don't even know what I'm talking about. Now over in France, it's altogether different. I mean, the kids are taught. They honor all the victories. They honor it's all together. Here they don't even mention it. It's not even mentioned. You know, V-Day, they won't hardly. And back in Fort Worth, where I'm from, it won't hardly be mentioned. D-Day, none of that. Now Pearl Harbor, they'll do it because they went through it, but. I don't think they're doing a good job of educating the kids about it.
Final question: where were you when the war was over?
I was in New Orleans.
And you
know that picture of that guy folding that girl back and kissing her? That was me. No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
You kissed a nurse?
I wish it was.
You kissed a nurse?
I wish it was, but it wasn't. The last raid we had. It must have been, I think it was September, but I'm not real sure. I'm going to get one of my kids to see if they can look up and see when the last big raid was at Guadalcanal. But I looked over, and way over there on the horizon, and I seen this, I thought it was a flock of birds. It looked like a big flock of birds coming in. And they kept coming in. Come to find out, it's a flock of Zeros. I heard it was 98, but I'm not sure. And this is 1944. This is the last big raid. They come in bombing and scraping. There was LST out there. They killed every man on it. And the Navy hooked up and pulled it over into Purvis Bay, that bay I told you about. They towed that LST up. It sat there for 3 days with them men on it in that hot sun. And they came over to our island and got a crew to go over there and get those bodies. And I was working at the hospital at the time, and I wasn't part of the crew, and I'm so thankful that, but I seen the body bags coming in, 40-something men, 45 men, I think it was, that they killed on that ship that one day.
Thank you very much for your time.
I hope they find something interesting in it.